Quan pushed his cleaning cart down the empty corridor, the wheels squeaking softly in the silence. The xenobiology wing was always quiet at night, and that was exactly how he liked it. At 52 years old, he had no interest in excitement or adventure anymore. He just wanted to do his job, collect his pay, and go home without anyone bothering him. The station was massive, floating in space above a giant gas planet. Thousands of beings from dozens of different alien species lived and worked here. There were the Vex, tall creatures made entirely of crystal who spoke in musical chimes. There were the Sorok, big reptilian warriors with sharp teeth and scales like armor. There were the Chitter, insect-like beings with too many legs and clicking voices. And then there were humans like Quan, who were not particularly special in any way. Not strong, not smart, not remarkable, just ordinary. That suited Quan perfectly fine. He had been a scientist once, years ago back on Earth. He had studied animals and how they felt emotions. He had published papers about how creatures bonded with each other. But then tragedy struck. His wife and son died in an accident while he was away at work. He blamed himself for not being there. The pain was too much. He quit his job, left Earth, and came here to this distant station where nobody knew him and nobody asked questions. Now he was just a janitor, and he preferred it that way. Quan hummed softly as he mopped the floor in Lab 7. The lab was supposed to be empty tonight. All the scientists had gone to sleep hours ago. But then he heard something strange. A soft chirping sound, like tiny bells ringing. He stopped mopping and listened carefully. The sound came again. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Quan followed the noise to the back of the lab, where a special container sat on a metal table. Inside the container were 3 large eggs. They were moving slightly, rocking back and forth. As Quan watched, a crack appeared on the surface of one egg. Then another crack. Then another. "Oh no," Quan whispered. He reached for his communication badge to call for help, but before he could press the button, the first egg exploded. Pieces of shell flew everywhere. Something small emerged from the broken egg, shaking itself dry. Quan stared in amazement. It was a creature unlike anything he had ever seen, about the size of a large cat. It had scales that changed colors in the light, shifting from blue to green to purple to gold. For legs ended in sharp claws. 2 delicate wings unfolded from its back. Its head was elegant and intelligent, with eyes that glowed like melted gold. When it opened its mouth, Quan could see rows of needle-sharp teeth. The creature looked directly at him and chirped. "Easy now," Quan said softly, raising his hand slowly. "Nobody is going to hurt you." The creature tilted its head, studying him with those ancient-looking eyes. Then the other 2 eggs began to crack open. Quan backed toward the door as the second and third creatures hatched. One had scales that flickered between blue and green. The other shimmered with gold and bronze colors. All 3 were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. The 3 creatures looked at each other. They chirped and clicked, seeming to communicate. Then they started exploring the lab, knocking over equipment and sniffing everything with curiosity. "Okay, definitely calling security now," Quan muttered, grabbing his badge. The lab door burst open. Dr. Hannah rushed in. She was a Vex, her crystalline body reflecting the lab lights. Her voice chimed like wind through glass caves. "Oh, thank goodness. They finally hatched. Stand back, please, Janitor Quan. These specimens are extremely valuable." Dr. Hannah approached the creatures with a glowing cage made of energy fields. She moved slowly and carefully. The largest of the 3 creatures watched her approach. Its golden eyes narrowed dangerously. "Doctor, maybe we should wait for—" Quan started to say. The creature attacked. It happened so fast that Quan barely saw it move. 1 second the creature was sitting calmly on the table. The next second it launched itself through the air like a missile, claws extended, mouth open in a shriek that hurt Quan's ears. Dr. Hannah stumbled backward. The creature's claws scraped across her crystalline body, leaving deep scratches. Red lights began flashing. Alarms blared throughout the lab. Dr. Hannah's voice was high and panicked. "Security to Lab 7. We need immediate help." The other two creatures joined the attack. They moved together like a team, working in perfect coordination. They darted between tables, knocked over expensive equipment, hissed and snapped at anyone who came near. Scientists ran out of the room screaming. Quan pressed himself flat against the wall, his heart pounding in his chest. The security team arrived within 2 minutes. Sorok warriors in heavy armor carried stun weapons and electric nets. Their commander, a huge reptile named Take, looked at the chaos with cold eyes. "Contain those creatures," Commander Take ordered. "Do not kill them. They are worth a fortune." The Sorok soldiers moved in formation. They were trained warriors, strong and fast. They used shields to corner the creatures and nets to catch them, but the creatures were faster. They seemed to know what the soldiers would do before they did it. They flowed around the guards like water, striking when backs were turned. One Sorok fell to the ground, his armor smoking. One of the creatures had breathed fire at him. "Fall back!" Commander Take shouted, "Get the heavy weapons." More security arrived. Chitter soldiers with multiple arms. More Vex with energy guns. Even a massive Grent in powered armor that made the floor shake. The lab became a war zone. Energy blasts lit up the room. Smoke filled the air. Alarms screamed. And through it all, 3 small creatures were somehow winning against dozens of trained fighters. Quan had retreated to the far corner, hiding behind his cleaning cart. His hands shook. This was bad. Very bad. Those creatures were going to get killed, or they were going to kill someone else, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Then the smallest creature, the one with gold and bronze scales, broke away from the fight. It ran between a Sorok's legs, slid across the smooth floor, and headed straight toward Quan's hiding spot. Quan's breath caught in his throat. The creature was getting closer. 3 meters away. 2 meters. 1 meter. It stopped right in front of him. Golden eyes stared into his. Quan did not move, did not even breathe. Every instinct told him to run. But he was frozen with fear, trapped between his cart and the wall. The creature took 1 step forward. Then another. It sniffed the air around him. Then it made a soft, questioning sound. Not aggressive, just curious. "Hello," Quan whispered. Something changed in the creature's eyes. The anger disappeared. Instead, there was curiosity. Recognition, maybe, as if it saw something in Quan that it liked. The creature moved closer and gently pressed its scaled head against Quan's knee. Without thinking, Quan's hand moved forward. His fingers touched the creature's head. The scales were warm and smooth. The creature made a deep, rumbling sound like a cat purring. Then it climbed into his lap and curled up. The fighting continued for a few more seconds. Then it stopped. Everyone turned to stare. The other 2 creatures had stopped attacking. 6 hours had passed since the creatures first curled up around Quan. He was still sitting on the cold floor of Lab 7, afraid to move even an inch. His legs had lost all feeling 2 hours ago. His back screamed in pain. But every time he tried to shift his weight, the largest creature would open one golden eye and make a low growling sound. The message was clear: do not move or else. Quan had named them in his mind during the long hours. The largest one with scales that shifted between red and orange was Ember. The blue-green one was Smoke. The smallest, with gold and bronze coloring, was Ash. They slept peacefully on and around him, completely trusting, while dozens of scientists and soldiers watched from a safe distance. "We need to move him," Commander Take said for what felt like the 100th time. The big Sorok warrior stood near the door, his arms crossed over his armored chest. "And risk another attack?" Dr. Suji replied. She was a Vex scientist who had been watching Quan and the creatures for hours, never leaving her spot by the door. Her crystalline body glowed softly as she studied her scanning instruments. "Look at these readings. The creature's stress levels have dropped to 0. Their heart rates are calm. They are completely at peace. I have never seen anything like this in my entire career." Dr. Hannah floated closer, her body now repaired from the earlier attack. "But why? What makes this human so special?" "He is just a janitor." "I am just a janitor," Quan agreed quietly. "There is nothing special about me at all." "That is not true," Dr. Suji said. She looked up from her instruments. I research your background, Quan Park. You are a former xenobiologist. You published 17 research papers about Earth predator behavior before you left your career. Why did you not mention this? Quan felt his stomach tighten. Because it does not matter anymore. That life is over. It matters now. Dr. Suji moved a little closer, being careful not to startle the sleeping creatures. Your research focused on something called emotional resonance theory. You believe that predators respond to emotional states, not just to chemical smells or sounds. The scientific community rejected your ideas. They said I was wrong, Quan said bitterly. They said I was seeing things that were not really there. They said I was treating animals like humans. Or maybe they were the ones who were wrong. Dr. Suji's voice was soft. Maybe you were right all along. A chitter scientist clicked and chittered from the doorway. Its many legs tapped nervously on the floor. We have identified the species. The station database just confirmed it. These are celestial dragons. The room became completely silent. Everyone stared at the small creatures sleeping peacefully around Quan. That is impossible, Dr. Hannah whispered. Celestial dragons have been extinct for thousands of years. Everyone knows this. Apparently everyone was wrong, the chitter scientist said. The DNA analysis proves it beyond any doubt. These are purebred celestial dragons. The eggs must have been preserved in some kind of stasis for a very long time. Commander Take's scales seem to turn pale. Do you understand what this means? Adult celestial dragons grow to over 1 kilometer in length. They can destroy entire fleets of ships. They are living weapons of mass destruction. Every military force in the galaxy will want to control them. No one is taking them, Quan said. His own voice surprised him with how firm it sounded. Excuse me? Commander Take turned to stare at him. I said no one is taking them. Quan looked down at the 3 sleeping creatures. Smoke had rolled onto his back, tiny paws in the air. Ember's tail was wrapped around Quan's wrist. Ash was snoring softly. They are babies. They are scared and confused. I will not let anyone turn them into weapons. You will not let us? Commander Take took a step forward. His voice was dangerous. You are just a janitor, human. You have no authority here. You have no power to... Ember's eyes snapped open. The young dragon stood up quickly, placing itself between Quan and the Sorok commander. It growled deep in its throat. Small wisps of smoke curled from his nostrils. The threat was clear. Commander Take froze. His hand moved toward his weapon, but he did not draw it. I think the hatchlings have already decided who's authority here, Dr. Suji said carefully. The tension was broken by an announcement over the station speakers. Dr. Suji, Dr. Hannah, Commander Take, please report to Command Center immediately. We have a critical situation. The 3 of them left, leaving guards at the door. Quan stayed with the creatures, talking to them softly, keeping them calm. About an hour later, Dr. Suji came running back into the lab. Her crystalline body was flickering with fear. What is wrong? Quan asked. The black market dealer who sold the eggs has been found dead. His ship was torn apart from the inside. Dr. Suji's voice shook. And our long-range sensors have detected 2 massive objects heading toward the station at incredible speed. Each one is over 1 kilometer in length. Quan felt his blood turn cold. The parents, the adult dragons, are coming for their children. Yes, and Quan, they are destroying everything in their path. They tore through our defense shields like they were made of paper. Nothing can stop them. The station is evacuating. As if they understood her words, all 3 hatchlings woke up suddenly. They cried out in voices that sounded heartbreakingly young and afraid. The sound went straight to Quan's heart. It is okay, Quan whispered, gathering them close even though his muscles ached from sitting still for so long. It is okay. I have got you. I will keep you safe. Smoke buried his head against Quan's chest. Ash trembled all over. Even Ember, who was usually so fierce and brave, pressed close with fear in his golden eyes. They can feel their parents coming, can they not? Quan asked softly. Ember chirped. The sound meant yes. The entire station shook. Lights flickered. Alarms began blaring again. A voice came over the intercom, urgent and scared. All personnel to evacuation stations immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Dr. Suji grabbed Kwan's arm. We need to go. Right now. The adult dragons are tearing the station apart. They will kill everyone looking for their children. I am not leaving them. Kwan struggled to his feet for the first time in 6 hours. His legs barely held him up. The hatchlings clung to him, their claws digging into his janitorial uniform. Then you will die when the station is destroyed. Kwan looked at the 3 small creatures in his arms. They looked back at him with complete trust. They believed he would protect them. They believed he would not abandon them. I made them a promise, Kwan said quietly. I told them I would keep them safe. The station shook again, harder this time. Through the window, Kwan could see them now. 2 enormous shapes moving through space, scales glittering like captured starlight, wings so large they could cover entire cities. They were the most beautiful and terrifying things Kwan had ever seen. They were parents searching for their stolen children. Take me to them, Kwan said, his voice steady despite his fear. Take me to where the adult dragons are. That is suicide. They will kill you instantly. The walk to the docking bay was the longest walk of Kwan's life. Every step felt like he was marching toward his own death. All around him, people were running in the opposite direction. Scientists, soldiers, workers. Everyone was fleeing as fast as they could. Their faces showed pure terror. Vex scientists flickered with fear. Sorok warriors, usually so brave, ran without shame. Chitter workers scurried past on their many legs, clicking in panic. But Kwan walked forward, toward the danger, not away from it. The 3 hatchlings clung to him tightly. Their small claws dug into his uniform. They could feel his fear, he knew, but they trusted him anyway. That trust made Kwan feel both proud and terrified at the same time. Dr. Suji walked beside him. She had refused to leave him alone. This is insane, she said for the 10th time. You know that, right? This is completely insane. Yes, Kwan agreed. His voice was surprisingly calm. But what else can I do? Let someone else handle it. Let the diplomats negotiate. Let the military negotiate with parents whose children were stolen and sold. Kwan shook his head. With creatures who have been searching for months, finding only betrayal and death everywhere they look? No, words will not work. Only actions will matter now. They passed several Vex scientists lying unconscious in the corridor. Their crystalline bodies flickered weakly. The psychic pressure from the adult dragons was so strong it had knocked them out. Last chance to turn back, Dr. Suji said as they reached the docking bay doors. Kwan took a deep breath. His heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst out his chest. But he thought about Ember's fierce protectiveness. He thought about Smoke's gentle curiosity. He thought about Ash's complete trust. He thought about his own children, lost so long ago, and how he had failed them by not being there. He would not fail again. Kwan stepped through the doors. The docking bay was enormous, designed to hold massive cargo ships. But now it felt far too small. 2 adult celestial dragons filled the space. They had somehow phased partially through the station's shields, which should have been impossible. Their heads alone were bigger than most vehicles Kwan had ever seen. Their eyes were like looking at stars. Ancient, powerful, filled with rage and grief and desperate love, all mixed together. The psychic pressure hit Kwan like a physical weight. He felt like he was drowning in an ocean of emotion. His knees buckled, his vision blurred. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to hide, to get away from these impossibly dangerous beings. But the hatchlings cried out. That small, frightened sound cut through everything else like a knife. The adult dragon's attention snapped to Kwan immediately. Both massive heads turned toward him, their eyes locked onto the small human, holding their children. Kwan forced his legs to keep moving forward. Every step was agony. The psychic pressure tried to crush him. His body wanted to collapse. His mind wanted to break. But he kept walking. I have your children, Kwan said. His voice shook, but he got the words out. They are safe. They are not hurt. The larger dragon, the mother, Quan somehow knew, moved closer. Her head was bigger than a shuttlecraft. One wrong move, and she could swallow him whole without even trying. The hatchlings squirmed in Quan's arms, chirping urgently. Quan understood what they wanted. He knelt down carefully and set them on the floor. Immediately, they ran to their mother. Their tiny wings flapped. Their voices cried out in relief and joy and love. The reunion was the most beautiful thing Quan had ever seen. The massive adult dragons crooned over their tiny children with such gentleness it seemed impossible. They nuzzled the hatchlings with giant heads, being so careful not to hurt them. Smoke disappeared under his mother's wing. Ash climbed onto his father's enormous snout. Ember perched on his mother's head, chirping triumphantly as if saying, "See, I told you we would be okay." Quan started to back away slowly. His job was done. He had returned the children safely. Now, he just needed to leave before the adult dragons remembered he was there and decided humans were responsible for the theft. All 5 dragons looked at him at once. Quan froze. The hatchlings flew back to him, circling his head, chirping urgently. They flew to their parents, then back to Quan, then back to their parent again. They were clearly upset about something. "I think they are trying to tell their parents something about you," Dr. Suji whispered from the doorway where she was watching. The psychic pressure changed. It was no longer trying to crush Quan. Instead, it felt like something was carefully looking through his mind, like someone gently opening drawers and looking at his memories. Try to understand who he was and what he wanted. Quan stood still and let them look. He had nothing to hide. Images flashed through his mind, but they were not his memories. They were the dragon's memories. He saw ancient skies filled with dragons soaring in freedom. He saw a nest hidden in mountains. He saw the nest attacked, eggs stolen in the night. He saw months and months of desperate searching. Every world they visited, they found only greed. Species trying to cage the hatchlings. Species trying to turn them into weapons. Species trying to sell them for profit. Death and betrayal everywhere. And then, Quan, sitting quietly while their children slept on him, speaking softly to calm their fears, moving carefully to avoid disturbing them, protecting them when he could have easily run away and saved himself. Why? The question was not in words, but Quan understood it perfectly in his mind. Because they needed someone, Quan said simply, "Because I cannot leave them alone and afraid. Because," he paused, searching for the right words in his heart, "because taking care of others, even when they are different from us, even when it is hard, even when it is dangerous, that is what makes us human. That is what we are." A new presence joined the conversation in his mind. The adjudicator stepped into the bay. It was a being of pure light in a shape that was almost humanoid but not quite, ancient and neutral, respected by all species. "I will translate their words for you," the adjudicator said. Its voice sounded like music. The dragons asked, "What are humans that you would risk your life for children not of your species?" Quan thought about Earth, his home world so far away. He thought about how humans had looked at wolves, dangerous predators, and seen potential friends. How they had taken in cats and horses and birds and so many other creatures. How humans seemed to have an endless capacity to love things that were different from themselves. "Humans are pack bonders," Quan said slowly. "We evolved to care, not just for our own kind, but for anyone who needs us. We are not the strongest species in the galaxy. We are not the smartest. We are not the most advanced. But we are very, very good at loving. We are very good at seeing someone who needs help and choosing to help them, even when it costs us something." 24 hours to decide. Quan sat alone in his small quarters, staring at the communication screen on his desk. His finger hovered over the call button, but he could not bring himself to press it. He had not spoken to his daughter Mina in 5 years. 5 long years of silence and pain and regret. The memories came flooding back, as they always did when he thought of her. The accident, the colony breach, his wife and son dying while he was away at a conference, presenting his research about how animals bonded with each other. The irony was cruel. He studied bonding, but he had not been there when his own family needed him most. Mina had been 22 then, old enough to understand, old enough to blame him, old enough to say the words that still haunted him. "You were never there when we needed you, Dad. Not even at the end." She was right. He had always been too busy with his work, too focused on his research, too absorbed in his own world. And when his family died, he ran away. He left Earth. He left his career. He left everything behind and came to this distant station where nobody knew him and nobody asked questions. "Just do it," Quan muttered to himself. "Just make the call." He pressed a button. The screen blinked. Rang once, twice, 3 times. Maybe she would not answer. Maybe that would be easier. Mina's face appeared on the screen. She looked older now. 27 instead of 22. Her hair was shorter. There were lines around her eyes that had not been there before. But she still had her mother's kind eyes. "Dad." She looked shocked. "Is everything okay? You never call." "Hi, Mina." Quan's throat felt tight. I need to talk to you about something important." He told her everything. About the dragon eggs hatching. About how they attacked everyone but trusted him. About the adult dragons coming to find their children. About the choice he now had to make. Stay here, or go with the dragons to be a guardian for their young. Mina listened in complete silence. Her expression was impossible to read. When Quan finished talking, she said nothing for a long moment. "So let me understand this correctly," she finally said. Her voice was very calm. "You are thinking about leaving Earth, leaving me, to go raise alien dragon babies for the next few decades? I know how it sounds. It sounds like you are running away." Again, the words hit Quan like a punch to the stomach. "Mina, that is not. Is it not?" Her calm broke. Tears filled her eyes. "You were not there when Mom and Taejin died. You were at a conference, giving presentations about how animals feel emotions and form bonds, about family and connection. But you could not connect with your own family, could you? That is not fair. Is it not fair? Really?" Tears ran down her cheeks now. "After they died, you left. You ran away to space where I could not reach you. You left me alone to deal with everything. And now you want to leave the entire sector because 3 baby dragons need you? Because they make you feel needed." Quan felt his own eyes burning. "You are right. You are absolutely right. I have been running. Ever since your mother died, I have been running from anything that might hurt me again, from any connection that might break my heart." "Then stop running, Dad. Just stop." "But these creatures need me, Mina. They trust me completely. They bonded with me in a way that scientists say should not even be possible. And maybe this is my chance to do something right. To be there for someone when they actually need me. To not run away this time." Mina wiped her eyes roughly. "You cannot save Mom and Taejin by saving these dragons, Dad. You know that, right?" "I know that. Do you really?" She leaned closer to the screen. "Or are you just looking for a way to feel important again? A way to matter? A way to avoid dealing with your grief by focusing on something else entirely?" Quan opened his mouth to argue, then stopped. Was she right? Was this really about the dragons? Or was it about him? Was he choosing to help them because they needed him, or because he needed to feel like he had a purpose again? He thought about Ember's fierce protectiveness, always watching over his smaller siblings. He thought about Smoke's gentle curiosity, exploring everything with wonder. He thought about Ash's complete and total trust, falling asleep in his arms without any fear. He thought about the adult dragon's desperate months-long search for their stolen children. "Maybe it is both," Quan admitted quietly. "Maybe I need them as much as they need me. But Mina, if I say no, those hatchlings will have to separate from me. Scientists say it might damage them emotionally. And their parents, they have been searching for someone they can trust. Someone who sees their children as precious living beings instead of as weapons or property. Someone who will protect them and teach them and care for them." "Then go," Mina said softly. Quan blinked. "What?" "Go be their guardian. Go raise dragons. Go do something that matters." She smiled through her tears. It was a sad smile, but genuine. But Dad, you have to promise me something. Anything. Do not use them as another excuse to hide from living. Make real connections there. Document everything you learn. Share it with the galaxy. Let people see what you are doing. Stay in touch with me regularly, not just once every 5 years. And Dad, her voice became very serious. You need to forgive yourself for not being there, for being human and making mistakes. You have to let go of the guilt. Quan felt something inside his chest crack open. A knot of pain he had been carrying for 5 years suddenly loosened just a little. Mina, I am so sorry for not being there when you needed me, for running away and leaving you alone, for being a terrible father. You were not a terrible father. You were a grieving husband who did not know how to handle losing half his family. I understand that now. I forgive you, Dad. She smiled again. But you need to forgive yourself, too. That is the hard part. I will try. Good. Now go save some dragon babies. And Dad, send me pictures. I want to see what you are doing. After the call ended, Quan sat in silence for a long time. His quarters felt very small suddenly, very empty. But also, for the first time in 5 years, he felt like maybe he could breathe again. Like maybe the future was not just about running away from pain, but about moving towards something good. He stood up. He straightened his janitorial uniform one last time. Then he walked out to give the dragons his answer. The docking bay had been transformed. The adult dragons had settled in, clearly planning to wait as long as necessary. Ember, Smoke, and Ash played together under their parents' watchful eyes, practicing tiny puffs of flame and attempting to fly with their still weak wings. When Quan entered, all 5 dragons turned to look at him. The weight of their attention was immense. I will do it, Quan said clearly. I will be guardian and teacher to your young. The adjudicator translated his words. The adult dragons rumbled with deep satisfaction, but Quan held up one hand. But I have conditions, he continued. Even Dr. Suji gasped at his boldness. No one negotiated with celestial dragons. I want other humans to be allowed to visit and learn from you, not to study you like specimens in a lab, but to understand you as people, to build a real relationship between our species. The flight to the dragon homeworld took 3 weeks. 3 weeks of sailing through space on the back of a creature older than most civilizations. 3 weeks that changed Quan's life completely. He learned the dragon songs, deep rumbling melodies that vibrated through his entire body. The adult dragons sang to their young every evening, songs that had been passed down for thousands of generations. Quan could not make the same sounds, but he hummed along in his own way. In return, he taught the hatchlings human lullabies, simple songs his mother had sung to him long ago. The hatchlings loved them, especially Ash, who would fall asleep every night while Quan sang softly. Ember, Smoke, and Ash grew noticeably stronger each day. Their wings became more powerful. Their flames burned hotter and brighter. They learned to fly properly instead of just gliding clumsily. But more than their physical growth, they were learning to trust, learning to play, learning that the universe could be kind. Dr. Suji documented everything with her instruments and cameras. She and Quan would talk late into the ship nights about evolution and empathy, about what made different species unique, and what they all shared in common. You know what the galaxy is going to think about all this? Suji said one evening while the hatchlings slept in a pile on Quan's lap. They are going to see this as proof that humans are somehow special or superior. We are not special, Quan said, carefully scratching behind Ember's ears. We are just us. Maybe that is exactly what makes you special. You do not see it. Suji adjusted her recording equipment. Every other species in the galaxy evolved in one of 3 basic ways. Hive minds that cooperate because their biology forces them to, like the chitter. Logical species that cooperate because it benefits them rationally, like the Vex. Or solitary species that barely cooperate at all, like the Sorok. But humans evolved as cooperative predators who bonded through emotion and empathy. You are empathy specialists in a galaxy that does not really understand empathy. Is that why everyone thinks we are weak? That is why everyone underestimates you, Suji corrected. They mistake emotional connection for weakness. But what you are doing right now, building a bridge between two species through trust and care, that takes a kind of strength most species do not have. When they finally arrived at the dragon homeworld, Quan's breath caught in his throat. The planet was hidden deep inside a colorful nebula, protected by technology so advanced it seemed like magic. The world itself was breathtaking. Mountains that touched the clouds, forests so vast they seemed endless, oceans that sparkled like liquid diamonds under the light of two suns. And everywhere, there were dragons, dozens of them. Some were juveniles the size of houses. Others were ancient so large they were like living mountains. The hatchlings cried out joyfully, racing ahead to greet their extended family. Quan watched them go with a mixture of pride and sadness. They were home now. They were safe. Maybe they would not need him anymore. But Ember circled back, landing on his shoulder and chirping insistently, as if to say, "You are coming too, obviously." A council of elder dragons waited in a massive crater at the peak of the tallest mountain. Quan and Suji stood before them, two tiny humans facing beings that had witnessed the birth and death of stars. The psychic weight was incredible, but Quan had learned to endure it during the journey. The adjudicator appeared to translate as the ancient dragons asked their questions. Why should we trust your kind when so many have betrayed us? What can humans possibly offer to dragons? How do we know you do not seek to use our young for your own purposes? Quan answered each question with complete honesty. He did not pretend humans were perfect. They were not. He did not claim humans were better than other species. They were not. He simply offered partnership, friendship, understanding, a chance to not be alone in a vast galaxy. We cannot promise we will never make mistakes, Quan said. We will make mistakes. We will misunderstand things. We will sometimes fail, but we will always try. We will always care. And we will never see your children as anything less than the precious living beings they are. The eldest dragon spoke. It was so ancient its scales had turned to crystal, and its voice was like mountains shifting. The adjudicator translated. In all our long years watching the galaxy, we have seen species rise and fall like waves on an ocean. We have seen the strong dominate the weak. We have seen the clever exploit the simple. We have seen the many crush the few. We withdrew from the galaxy because we saw no hope that anything would ever change. But you, Quan Park, you make us wonder perhaps change is possible after all. I hope so, Quan said quietly. I really hope so. You will be tested. The ancient dragon continued to the adjudicator. You and any humans who come after you will be watched carefully. Fail, and the bridge between our species will burn. But succeed. The dragon's crystalline scales chime like bells. Succeed, and perhaps the galaxy can learn to be better than it has been. 5 years passed like water flowing in a river. Quan stood on a cliff edge, watching Ember soar through the clouds. The young dragon was no longer a hatchling. He was now the size of a shuttlecraft, his scales brilliant red and orange like a living flame. Smoke and ash flew beside him, their scales gleaming blue-green and gold-bronze. They were practicing aerial maneuvers, diving and spinning, and racing each other with pure joy. They have grown so much, Dr. Suji said, standing beside Quan. She had returned to the station after 2 years to share her documentation, but she visited often. They have, Quan agreed with pride in his voice. And so have you. It was true. Quan was no longer the broken, grieving man who had hidden from life as a janitor. His hair was more gray now, and his face had new lines from years of smiling. He had found purpose again, family again, not a replacement for what he had lost, but something new and precious. More humans had come over the years. Tamine, a young linguist who now spoke 3 dialects of dragon language fluently. Heian, a diplomat who had helped establish formal relations between dragons and the Galactic Council. Dozens of others, all carefully chosen for their empathy and kindness. Quan's communicator chimed. His daughter Mina's face appeared on the small screen. Hey, Dad. Just checking in like always. Hey, sweetheart. How is school going? Exhausting but amazing. My professors say I have a real gift for xenobiology. Must be genetic. She grinned at him. Dad, I have been thinking. I want to apply to come study there with you, to work with the dragons. Quan felt his heart swell. I would love that, Mina. I would really love that. Me too, Dad. Her smile was genuine and warm. I am proud of you. Mom and Tae-Jean will be proud too. After the call ended, Quan stood quietly, feeling the wind on his face. He thought about his wife and son, gone but never forgotten. He thought about the long journey from grief to healing. He thought about 3 dragon eggs hatching in a lab and changing everything. Ember noticed him standing there and swooped down, landing with surprising grace for something so large. The end.